Do you feel like something feels broken? Not just at work, everywhere. People are exhausted, trust, it's collapsing, and conversations feel more hostile. Politics feel like a reality television show, and social media feels like emotional warfare. And somehow, we're all pretending this is normal. This is not normal. Welcome to Culture Shock, the show exposing the systems, behaviors, and cultural patterns hiding in plain sight. Your host, Dr. Lauran Star, is an organizational psychologist, a forensic cultural behaviorist, a fearless disruptor, and a best-selling author. And this is Culture Shock, where workplace culture collides with societal chaos. Welcome to the first episode. And we're going to dive right in and shake some trees because we're going to talk about one of the most abused phrases in modern workplace. That's right, psychological safety. And some of you are cringing, I'm sure, because somewhere between Harvard research and HR training decks, and then, of course, the LinkedIn leadership poetry, psychological safety got kidnapped. It went from serious organizational psychology concepts to corporate bubble wrap. Think about it. Now, every time someone says, I don't feel psychologically safe, we have to ask, do you mean unsafe or do you mean uncomfortable? Do you mean silenced or do you mean challenged? Do you mean retaliation or do you mean your idea just got questioned in a meeting and now accountability feels like violence? Because really that distinction matters. Psychological safety is not no one can disagree with me. It is not my manager must emotionally cushion every sentence. And it is not feedback is trauma. And finally, it is not a permission slip for low standards, avoidance, passive-aggressive behavior, or weaponizing fragility. The original definition from Amy Edmondson is clear. Psychological safety is a shared belief that a team is safe for interpersonal risk-taking. Translation? People can speak up, challenge, admit mistakes, ask for help, raise concerns, and tell the truth without being punished, humiliated, iced out, or professionally executed. That's it. Not comforting, not coddling, not corporate daycare. It's truth without retaliation. That's the bar, my friends. It is truth without retaliation. And here's the culture shock. The same companies screaming about psychological safety are often the same companies where people are afraid to tell the truth. They want openness without conflict. They want innovation without dissent. They want accountability without discomfort, or a culture without consequences. And that, my friends, is not psychological safety. That is organizational bullshit in a wellness font. So what we are watching is the collapse of meaning. You see, psychological safety became popular because organizations are under pressure. We have burnt out employees and distrust in leadership. Never mind the political tension and hybrid work conflicts. Throw in artificial intelligence anxiety and generational clashes, and then add a dash of layoffs and leaders who want innovation but cannot emotionally tolerate the challenge. Google's Project Aristotle famously identified psychological safety as one of the most important factors in high-performing teams. Not who was on the team, not whether everyone was best friends. The strongest teams had people who could speak openly, take risks, and contribute without fear. Corporate America heard that and said, great, let's turn that into a workshop. So now we have psychological safety posters in the workplace where employees are still whispering in the halls. I see this all the time. We have leadership trainings on vulnerability from executives who punish the dissident. We have pulse surveys asking, do you feel safe speaking up? Trust me, I know, I've seen them. Hell, I've put them out. Where everyone knows the last person who spoke up got either terminated or labeled not a cultural fit. Let's name the behaviors being normalized. People are confusing emotional comfort with psychological safety. My friends, they are not the same thing. Comfort says, don't upset me. Safety says, tell the truth and we will handle it responsibly. Comfort protects feelings. Safety protects the voice. Think about it. Comfort avoids conflict, yet safety makes healthy conflict possible, driving innovation. Comfort lowers the standards, yet safety allows high standards to be discussed without fear. Look, I was just at an organization where one of the highest standards around accountability came to light. And yes, I was let go because I brought it to light. This is where organizations are getting it all dangerously wrong. Because if psychological safety becomes no one can challenge anyone, performance dies. It's that simple. If accountability becomes speak up and we will punish you, trust dies. So the real work is not choosing safety or accountability. The real work is building both. And research supports this. Psychological safety has been linked to learned behaviors, performance engagement, information sharing, and team effectiveness. It's linked. The proof is there. But it works when it's paired with clarity, standards, leadership consistency, and an actual consequence system. Not vibes, systems. So when a company says we value psychological safety, I want to ask, where? In meetings? In performance reviews? In executive decision making? How about layoffs or mistakes? Because culture is not what you say when the room is calm. Culture is what your system protects when the room gets uncomfortable. So let's dive deeper and look at the system underneath all of this. We call this the culture operating system. Yes, psychological safety got distorted because organizations wanted the benefit without the behavior. They wanted employees to speak up, but not too loudly. They want innovation, not disruption. But yet you can't have innovation without disruption. They want feedback, but not criticism. They want belonging, which cracks me up, and that will be on another show, but not structural change. Think about it. They want honesty, but only if it was polite enough to protect power. And my friends, that's not safety. That's managed compliance. Okay, this is where the culture infinity loop kicks in. See, society is teaching people to equate disagreement with harm. Social media rewards emotional escalade. Politics renew and reward outrage. Institutions are losing trust. Public discord has become a performance of injury. And then employees bring all of that conditioning into work. That's right. And our leaders bring it in as well. So now we have two dysfunctional forces colliding. Employees who may interpret challenge as a threat, and leaders who may interpret truth as insubordination. That collide creates organizational paralysis. Nobody says the real thing. Everybody performs the safe thing. And yeah, dysfunction becomes normalized. That's what we refer to as the normalization effect. At first, people notice the silence. Then they adapt to the silence. Then they call silence professionalism. Then they promote the people best at staying silent. And suddenly, the organization does not have a communication problem. It has a truth suppression system. This is why psychological safety cannot live inside a culture that punishes reality. You cannot say speak freely while rewarding only agreement. You can't say we welcome feedback while leaders privately retaliate. You cannot say mistakes are learning opportunities while using mistakes as career landmines in performance review. And you cannot say bring your whole self to work while tolerating the parts that do not challenge the power. My friends, the evidence is clear. Psychological safety is strongly shaped by leadership behavior, team climate, and whether people believe interpersonal risk will be handled constructively. So, no, psychological safety is not an employee perk. It's not a nice culture accessory. It's not a manager being soft. It's an operating condition for truth. Let me say that again. Psychological safety is an operating condition for truth. And truth is operationally expensive when leadership has built a culture on denial. And that's why some leaders hate psychological safety, not because it's weak, because real psychological safety exposes weak leadership. It reveals where people are afraid, where decisions are performative. I love this, where executives say transparency, but mean practice containment. It's revealed when HR becomes the language policing department instead of the cultural accountability function. And yes, HR needs to hear this too, because psychological safety is getting sanitized by human resources every day. They've turned it into training modules, but psychological safety is not created in training. It's created in consequences. Are you seeing the twofold here? Are you seeing where it gets a little bit confusing? You see, it creates, when I say consequences, it's who gets promoted, who gets protected, who gets labeled as difficult, who gets heard, who gets punished for telling the truth, and who gets rewarded for avoiding it. That's your culture. What you tolerate is your culture. And if you tolerate retaliation, fear, avoidance, silence, executive fragility, meeting theater and weaponizing niceties, then stop calling it psychological safety. Call it what it is, my friends, a beautiful branded fear system, not psychological safety. So let's do some rapid fire truths here. Okay? Psychological safety without accountability becomes avoidance. Accountability without psychological safety becomes fear. Comfort without standards become entitlement. Standards without voice becomes control. Candor without care becomes cruelty, and care without candor becomes theater. And organizations are drowning in theater right now. So, what do we actually do about this? First, define the damn thing correctly. Psychological safety means people can take interpersonal risks without fear or punishment or humiliation. It does not mean every conversation is going to feel good, or every idea is accepted, or leaders stop holding people accountable. It means accountability is not delivered through shame, threat, retaliation, or power games. Second, separate discomfort for danger. Discomfort, fear, disagreement, these are not automatically harm. Retaliation is harm. Humiliation is harm. Exclusion is harm. Punishing dissent is harm. Ignoring concerns until they become lawsuits is more than harm. Third, build voice mechanisms that actually work, not anonymous surveys no one trusts. and not my door is always open from leaders who nobody wants to approach. Real mechanisms, meeting norms, escalation paths, leader response standards, retaliation audits, decision transparency, post-mistake reviews, conflict protocols. And this is just to name a few off the top of my head. Fourth, train leaders in emotional regulation, because psychologically unsafe cultures are often led by emotionally unsafe leaders. These are leaders who can't tolerate to be questioned, who personalize feedback, who confuse loyalty with agreement, who needs admiration more than accuracy, and leaders who say, challenge me, and then punish the first person who does. That's not leadership. That's ego with a flippin' job title. And fifth, pair safety with standards. The goal is not consequent-free workplace. The goal is fear-free truth systems. You can say, we expect excellence. We will challenge each other. We will name risks early. We will tell the truth respectively. We will not punish people for surfacing problems, and we will hold people accountable for behaviors, not bruising someone's ego. This is a grown-up culture, not a fragile culture, not a fear culture, not a fake nice culture. It's a real culture. So one final truth. Here's today's reset. Psychological safety is not in the absence of conflict. It's in the presence of enough truth, maturity, and accountability to survive truth. And that is what most organizations are missing. Not kindness or values, not another leadership competency model. They are missing the capacity to handle reality, because reality is uncomfortable. Reality says the team is afraid of your vice president. Reality says your open culture is actually a permission structure for the loudest people. Reality says your best employees are quiet because speaking up has consequences. And reality says your managers are not creating safety because they were promoted for output, not emotional maturity. And from an HR lens, reality says HR is often managing optics instead of confronting power. And reality says your culture is not defined by what people are encouraged. It's defined by what people know better than to say. This is your test. Ask yourself, what are people afraid to say here? Who are they afraid to say it to? And what happens when they do say it? There's your cultural audit. No consultant needed, my friend. No 80 flippin' slide decks. No laminated values cards. Just the truth. What truth is unsafe in this organization? Because whatever truth cannot be spoken is the dysfunction currently running the business. So the next time someone says psychological safety, don't clap your hands like you just solved culture. Ask better questions. Safe for who? For what? Safe under what pressures? Safe with what power? How about during conflict? Safe when truth threatens someone important? Because psychological safety is not a slogan, it's a stress test. And if your culture collapses the moment someone tells the truth, you don't have psychological safety. You have performance management silence. This is culture shock, where workplace culture collides with societal chaos. And remember, what you tolerate is your culture. So stop tolerating fear dressed up as performance. Stop tolerating silence dressed up as alignment. Stop tolerating avoidance dressed up as kindness. And for the love of every exhausted employee sitting in another fake safe meeting, stop calling it psychological safety if what you really mean is please don't make leadership uncomfortable. That's not safety. That's power protecting itself. And we're done pretending. Remember, What you tolerate is your culture. Challenge what has become normal, and I'll see you next time. This has been Culture Shock with Dr. Lauran Star, the show where workplace culture collides with societal reality, and the systems nobody wants to question finally get called out. New episodes drop every Monday and Wednesday, breaking down leadership failure, cultural dysfunction, and behavioral patterns shaping today's workplace and society. Have a question, a workplace story, or thoughts on the show? Email Dr. Star directly at lauran@drlauranstar.com. Until next time, challenge the narrative, disrupt the normalization, and remember, what you tolerate is your culture.